I have spent the last 30 days making a video on everything a young man should know about being an ideal masculine man. And in this video, I'm going to distill everything that those videos covered, all the theoretical parts and more. But first, welcome to the Becoming Men Project. My name is Ayan, and I help young men like you transition from boy psychology to man psychology. This video is the theoretical summary of my masculinity playlist. And today, we're going to talk about everything that a young man should know about being masculine. Before we start, you should know that this video is going to be followed by an actionable guide where we're going to talk about everything that a young man must do to become a masculine man. And in this video, we're going to talk about everything you must know. So, first, part one, what is masculinity? Basically, the definition of masculinity is the trait of a person who identifies himself as a man and carries masculine energy in his body. That makes him purpose driven, clear minded, goal orientated, and the main purpose of his life is achieving his mission. That's what masculinity is. And as a young man living in 2025, let's talk about why being masculine is different in our generation than the previous generations, the generations of our fathers and grandfathers. The thing is, with the evolution of mankind, there's been an evolution of masculinity. The evolution of masculinity has caused the definition of masculinity to change with each generation that passes by. And that's why being masculine in our generation is different than for what it was for our fathers. And what you should know about being masculine in 2025 is there is a war going on in masculinity. This is because people think masculinity should be ignored and that it is a toxic behavior. Well, there's a clear difference between toxic masculinity and healthy masculinity, something we'll talk about later in this video. But what you should know is masculinity is healthy if you're a young man like me who thinks being masculine is beautiful and that you have masculine energy flowing through your body, then you have every right to be masculine. And that's why this video is going to help you become more and more masculine as you grow. Part 2, Understanding Masculine Energy. Well, as a young man, you should know that there are three types of energies. And depending on what energy flows through a person, it can either make them masculine, feminine, or depolarized. So let's get into the energies. Energy 1 is masculine energy. This is the energy that flows through a person, which makes them goal orientated and makes them chase after their ambitions and goals. This is what makes a person masculine. Then there's feminine energy. Feminine energy is the energy that flows through a person, which makes them more love orientated, and the purpose of their life is the flow of love. And this is a beautiful energy. And then there is depolarized energy, which is balanced energy. I want you to think about the energies as a magnet, with masculine energy and feminine energy being the two poles of a magnet, where the energies are the strongest, and depolarized energy being the weakest link between these two energies, where the energy is the weakest. And once you've imagined this, you should know that as a masculine man, as a man who has masculine energy, you should be on the far end of the masculine pole. While as a person who has feminine energy flowing through them, the energies are gender irrelevant, you should be on this side. And that means being in the center, having a balanced energy is naturally bad for you. So now that you've understood what masculine energy, feminine energy, and depolarized energy is, let's talk about how to know if you're a masculine person. And you can get to know if you're a masculine person by answering this question. In your life, is the main purpose, the main priority to accomplish your mission, or is it the flow of love in your life? If it is to accomplish your goals and chase after your mission, then you are a naturally masculine person. And if it is the flow of love in your life, then you are a naturally feminine person. And something that you need to recognize is that being masculine or feminine is not better than the other. Both of these energies are equal in respect of how they should be treated, because masculine energy is just as important as feminine energy. Because in a polar relationship, something we'll talk about in part 3, both energies have to be present. Hence, find out what you are. Find out if you are masculine, or naturally feminine. Once you have recognized if you are masculine or feminine, let's get into the features of a masculine person. A person who's masculine has the following features. He is goal orientated, he has purpose and goals in his life, ambitions that he wants to achieve, and the main priority in his life is completing his purpose. That's what makes him masculine. He's clear headed, and his main priority is his purpose. That's what differentiates him from feminine people and depolarized people. Another quality of masculine people is that they are natural leaders, and the more masculine a person is, the better leader they become because they are more hardened and toughened because of their internal validation. Internal validation meaning they chase only their own expectations and own opinions, which causes them to be good leaders and natural providers. These are the features of masculine people. Part 3 is polarized relationship. Now we've understood that you're a masculine person, and now we're going to talk about what a polar relationship is. Basically, a polar relationship is the best relationship that a masculine person can have in his life. Because once you've realized you're masculine, and you know that in the magnet, the polar ends, the ends of magnet are where the energy is the maximum. You realize that being polarized, having the maximum amount of masculine energy in your life is healthy for you, and that causes you to naturally be attracted towards the other pole. If you have studied science, you know that like poles repel and unlike poles attract. That means if you're naturally masculine, you will be attracted to feminine people. And you have noticed this in your life. If you're a masculine person, if you're a young man watching to this, you are naturally attracted to girls if you're masculine. That means that you, as a masculine person, will naturally be attracted towards a highly feminine girl. And that's where polar relationships come in. A polar relationship is a relationship between a masculine person and a feminine person where their energies bind together and they make both of them grow in the light of love. And this is one of the best relationships that a masculine man can have in a life. And that is why you need to start having a polar relationship as the ideal goal in your life. You must be in a polar relationship because there are two types of relationship a person can be: a polar relationship or a depolarized relationship. In a polar relationship, there are always two energies present. There's a disparity between energies. There's masculine energy and there's feminine energy. Because of this opposite energy, there are two energies present. There is a disparity between these energies, and that causes them to intermingle, and that causes them to grow into the light of love. Whereas in a depolarized relationship, both of the people are balanced. They have neither masculine energy nor feminine energy, which is why there is no trust in the relationship because a masculine person, a person who's attracted towards a feminine person, trusts his partner to be feminine every day, whereas a feminine person trusts her partner to be masculine. But in a depolarized relationship, since both these energies are balanced, there is no trust. And hence, because there is no trust, there is no growing into the light of love. Hence, depolarized relationships are not healthy for you. So, if you're a young man watching this, a polar relationship is the main priority in your life, and it is the ideal relationship that a man should have in his life. Part 4: Masculine Brotherhood. And this is the best part of a masculine person's life. Let's get into masculine brotherhoods. First, I want you to know what the three types of people are. The population can be divided into three basic groups. These are the average people, consisting of 80% of the normal population. Then there are the crabs, 15% of the people, and there's the top 1%. Basically, the three types of people are the average people. The average people are the people who live normal lives. They have no good qualities, no bad qualities. They're just existing, following the flow of life, stuck in the rat race. Then there's the crabs. And this is the crabs in a bucket analogy, where basically a bunch of crabs are dropped in a bucket, and when one crab tries to escape, the other crabs snip at its leg and pull him down. These are the people that don't want you to succeed and hate when you grow. And then there's the 1% of men. The 1% of men are the men who are on the growth mindset, are constantly improving themselves. And for us, for the masculine people, they are highly masculine. And I want you to think about this. Who do you think will make the best friend for you? A crab, a normal person, or a high quality man? And if you are logical, you know that the 1% of people is the best. Let's talk about the difference between a normal friendship and a masculine brotherhood. Basically, a friendship is a phenomenon where a condition is applied to two people which causes them to naturally have a relationship. This time, it is a platonic relationship. And a friendship is basically conditional relationship where there is one or two conditions which causes two people to naturally have a relationship, a friendship. And the most common friendships are either caused because you live around some people or you have to show up at the same place as them. And because you are going to spend the same time with them, you decide that it'll be better for you to cooperate and be friends. But as soon as that condition is stripped, 99% of all friendships fail. And you will realize this once you graduate college or high school, because most of your friends don't follow up. Since the condition is not there, you don't have to meet every day. They feel no obligation to contact you, and your friendship is gone. But a masculine brotherhood is different. A masculine brotherhood is a relationship between two people who are masculine, who decide to grow together and channel their inner masculine energy together to become the best possible version of them. This is where a masculine brother is going to change your life. Because once you have a masculine person in your life, a masculine brother who you can open up to about your troubles, your insecurities, and you can ask them for for their criticisms to improve yourself. That's what's going to make you different from other people. Because once you realize that this person is going to stick with me no matter what, this is my second, this is the person who I can trust with my life, and the other person can trust you, it makes a relationship that is better than a normal friendship. Because a masculine brother will completely change your life. It is one of the best parts of your life. This is basically your gang. Start your own brotherhood. Start your own group of personal friends where all of you are masculine and you decide to grow together. You all start working out, you all start going to trips together, and you all start dating women. And that makes you so happy because, again, this is the brotherhood. This is your own personal group. And you don't have to keep following your cool kids around because you are the masculine, high quality people. You get naturally reserved and it makes you more natural, more masculine. Hence, masculine brotherhoods is one of the most important things that a young man like you should have in his life. Part 5, masculine aggression. And if you're a young man under the age of 20 who's watching this, I know for a fact that you've been angry at your parents or friends or your teachers once in your lifetime, a bare minimum, because as masculine men, young men, we naturally have so much testosterone in our body, and that testosterone makes us angry. It makes us have dark emotions like anger and anxiety, and that causes us to attack other people, hurt other people because of our rage. But I want you to know that there is another side to this. Once you realize that aggression can be used in a good way rather than hurting people and expressing your rage, you can use that aggression, mix it with your masculine energy, and grow to the best possible version of yourself by using that anger for actions. That is where you understand that this will change your complete life. Masculine aggression is basically the aggression inside of a young man who decides to channel his energy into his actions. You need to listen to this because if you're watching this as a young man, you naturally have anger inside of you because you have to do things you don't want to because you're forced to follow the rules, and that makes you naturally angry. But I am telling you, there's another way to use that anger. Use it in your actions. Change that aggression, that anger, that negative aspect of your life into something that's meaningful, something that makes other people happy and fulfills their lives, makes you give your gifts to the people, and makes you the best version of yourself, makes you a high quality masculine person. That's what masculine aggression is. Part 6, the 10 masculine virtues. Basically, a young man, any man who wants to be high quality, who naturally is masculine but wants to be a better man, should have these 10 virtues in his life. What are virtues? Virtues are basically qualities, good qualities that describe a man, make him trustworthy and respected. And let's get into the masculine virtues. Virtue 1 is responsibility. And this is a new topic that you must have heard about before, but you never realized. Responsibility is the most important masculine trait. As a young man, you should know that taking responsibility for your actions will make you the best possible version of yourself because you, as a man, have the right and you have the duty of being responsible because your ancestors were responsible and your future generations, the future person that you are, the future person that you will become depends on your responsibility, on what actions you take. And because of your responsibility, you will become a better person, a person who will naturally tend to be respected and a better social creature because of your responsibility. Hence, responsibility is the most important thing that you need in your life. Then there is emotional stability. A man is always more respected when he is emotionally stable and emotionally mature. That means a man who knows how to control his emotions and still be grounded in his beliefs is the best superior man. Because just think about normal girls, feminine people. Have you seen them be reserved, or are they more expressive of the feeling? Do they have moods? And do they act out? For them, it's healthy because feminine people thrive on emotional instability. They depend on us for being emotionally stable, being grounded in our beliefs, and being present, being calm and serene, handling every situation without taking stress. That is what a masculine superior man is. And that is why being emotionally stable is what you should be. And that is why emotional stability is virtue 2. Virtue 3 is purpose. And purpose is the most important thing. Purpose is actually the video that got the most views in the playlist. But here's what you need to know about purpose. Purpose is basically what your goals make you do. You have ambitions in your life. I know you do. You want money, you want respect, you want the women, but you never get them. You know why that is? Because you don't take actions for them. You don't have clear goals for it. And that causes you to only get lazy. Lazy, ambitious people always fail. Actionable ambition people are the only ones that get success. So I want you to do this. This is an actionable step, the only actionable step in this theoretical guide. Get a piece of paper, get a pen, and write down everything you want out of life. Then think about what you need to do to accomplish that. Think about what you need to become, what actions you need to take to get these things in life. And once you have the answer, once you have a clear path in front of you, isolate it, make it the only priority in your life so that all the actions in your life, all the intention, all the energy is focused towards this one purpose. This is what's going to change you. You hearing this right now, if you've come this far into the video, this is what's going to change your life because your purpose is your main priority. As a masculine person, the only thing that matters in your life, the only thing that's more important than your life is your purpose, because we fight till the last breath. Masculine people fight till the last breath, and for us in 2025 as young men, fighting to the last breath means fulfilling our purpose. That's why purpose is the most important virtue before responsibility. Virtue 4 is adaptability, and adaptability is the law of evolution. From the beginning of all life, every creature who knows how to adapt to its environment and become better and survive longer is the only one that carries its gene to the next generation, who gets to reproduce, who gets the women you want. And as a young man, you need to learn how to be adaptable. What I mean by adaptability basically is that you have some conditions that you don't know how to perform well in. You must have toxic people in your life. You must have to endure school or college because you don't want to go there, but you have to. And rather than fighting it, I want you to adapt to it. Basically, adaptability as a virtue is the quality of a man to adapt in the environment he is, to perform at the highest in the environment, be the best in the room there is. That is what adaptability is. Virtue 5 is communication. And communication basically is the virtue of a high quality man, which makes him able to express what he wants. Like, I want you to be more, like I want you to be better. And how do I do that? I communicate to you why having these virtues is important. And that is why communication is a virtue that every high quality young man must have. Virtue 6 is leadership, and I talked about this before. A naturally high masculine man, a man with high testosterone, a high quality man is always a good leader because he has his purpose. And when his purpose aligns with the purpose of the people he wants to lead, he will naturally lead them to the accomplishment of that purpose. Because we, as masculine young men, we have to grow up and become providers. We have to be the providers of our family. If you like that or you don't, I don't care. Masculine men are providers naturally, and you need to learn how to be a provider. How do you do that? By being a good leader. By having the leadership virtue in your life at an early age, you can set up for the person you are going to become 10 years from now and make his life easier. That's why you should have leadership in your life. Virtue 7 is your physique. As young men, the best experiments we can do is on our body. Basically, we what I mean by experiments is we can grow into the best possible physique that we can have. And you know why that is important? Because building your physique, will make you have all of these virtues naturally. It will make you be more responsible. It will become one of your purposes. It will make you more stable because you know how to endure pain. It will make you more adaptable. It will make you a better communicator because you know how to channel your own pain and aggression. And of course, it will improve your physique. Hence, you just need to know how to build your physique. And we're going to talk about that because there's a future part in this video on how to build your physique. Virtue 8 is problem solving, and this is basically a very simple virtue. Every masculine man must have this mindset, the mindset of fixing things, of solving problems. Because as we are masculine people and we have purpose in our lives, we are naturally calculative, and that makes us very good at solving problems, not just our problems, but the problems of the people around us, the problems of our community, and the problems of this earth. That is why problem solving is a masculine virtue, and you as a young man must have that in your life. Virtue 9, character. And this virtue is basically a virtue which describes a man being able to fight for his opinions. I heard this quote from Keanu Reeves: if you can't fight for your love, what kind of love do you have? And I kind of modified it in such a way: if you can't fight for your opinions, what kind of opinions do you have? Are you an NPC? Are you just someone who's following the trend, being stuck in the rat race? Or are you someone who has his own opinions? Someone who doesn't just blindly trust into the people, who has his own beliefs, his core belief system, and makes himself known as being different. That's what character is. And character is basically the virtue of a man to is the ability of a man to be able to differentiate himself from other people and have his own personality, fight for his opinions. That's why you need to differentiate who you are from the other people and have character, have personality. And the last virtue is class. Every man is masculine. Every person who is masculine knows that having raw masculine energy, we talked about masculine aggression, having raw masculine energy in your body makes you aggressive. It makes you toxic because uncontrolled masculine energy is dangerous. But I want you to know that the best possible way of controlling masculine energy is through class. How do we do that? Having class, following the traditions and rituals and all the ancient wisdom passed on to us by previous generations and following it in our lives, dressing good, taking care of yourselves, loving yourself, accepting your masculine energy. That's what class is. If I had to describe class in one word, it would be James Bond. Think about James Bond. Does he represent masculinity with class? That's what you emulate in your life, and that is the last virtue. Part 7 is responsibility. And responsibility is basically the most important virtue that a masculine man should have in his life. What is responsibility? Responsibility is basically this mindset where a young man, any man, takes responsibility for all of his actions. This means that everything that happens in your life, that happens to you, and that makes you do stuff is your responsibility. It's your problems and it's your achievements. You need to realize that everything that will happen to you will only be because of your past actions. This means you need to start taking responsibility right now. And the best way to understand this is your physique because it is the simplest example. You have a shit physique right now because you never took action for it, you never took responsibility for it, hence your physique is shit. But what if you started taking responsibility, started taking action for it? Do you think you'd still have the same physique? Hell no, because since you took responsibility, you get the benefits of your responsibility. That's why responsibility is the base belief system of every high quality man, and you need to start taking responsibility seriously. And this does not mean that you start ignoring responsibility by giving example of extreme examples like you getting hit by a bus. If you get hit by a bus, I can say for 100% that it is not your responsibility, but that does not mean you do not take responsibility for everything else. This also means that 100% means 100%. Let's say me and you are dining out in a restaurant and this waitress comes up and she spills coffee or red wine on your shirt. How do you react? You will naturally think that you have the right of being angry, of using your aggression and telling the waitress how dumb she is. No, you don't. You're a masculine man who has responsibility for his actions. But you're going to say that, it's not your fault. You still have the responsibility of how you react. Your words can change that waitress's mindset. It can avoid her falling into this crisis. and you have the responsibility of how you react in every situation. No matter what the situation is, you still have responsibility over how you respond. That's why responsibility is something that every young man must have in his life from today, from this moment onwards. Part 8, purpose. Let's talk about purpose. What is purpose? Purpose is basically the mission of your life. Once you realize that you're a masculine person, you will naturally want to have goals and ambitions because you are goal striving. You are purpose driven. What does purpose mean? It's your goal. And how do you find your purpose? Basically, you think about everything you want out of life and you make a plan out of it. You make a mission for it and you put a time frame on it. What you do is you write down your ambitions and you think about what you need to do to accomplish them. After you get the actions you need to do, put a time frame on it. 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, 1 week, and 1 day. You literally divide your purpose into a time frame, going all the way from 10 years to 1 day. That's how important this is. The actions you take tomorrow will change the kind of man you will be 10 years from now. That is why your having your purpose is the most important thing you need to understand. Let's work on our purpose together. What you need to know is your purpose is the ultimate priority in your life. There is nothing, not even your life, your health, anything that goes above your purpose. Your purpose will always be the priority in your life, no matter if you're in a polar relationship, if you are in financial crisis. If your purpose is something that helps you grow into the best possible version of yourself, and you truly feel yourself, every particle in your body, all the masculine energy inside of you telling you that you need to work for your purpose, then it is the priority. There is nothing in your life that should take away the energy and intent and the purpose you have for you and the direction you have for your purpose. Make your purpose the ultimate priority, and nothing should come between you accomplishing your purpose. Part 9, decision making. Basically, what we're going to talk about in this part is two types of ways you can make decisions. One is logic, and the other one is instinct. Logic is basically your mind's ability to calculate what needs to be done and what's the most probable answer in a situation. That is way too complicated, but what you need to know is logic is basically you deciding something with your brain. Your instincts, on the other hand, is your masculine energy, your subconscious mind flowing the masculine energy throughout your body, giving you an alternate answer, an answer different from your logic. And the question is, which one do you trust, your logic or your instincts? Your logic, on one hand, is something that's telling you the most logical thing, the most probable calculation, whereas your instinct is giving you an answer based on who you are, your preferences, and what you believe to be true. And this has been a fight, a debate in the mind always. Do I trust logic or do I trust my instincts? The answer is you trust your logic backed by your instincts. You instinctively know what is good, but you try to justify your bad actions with your logic. So stop. Stop with the pussy mindset. Decide what's good for you. You know, without me having to tell you, that working for your purpose, having responsibility, being a masculine man, going out there and being the best possible version of yourself is the best thing. But you choose to use your logic to not do that. That's the pussy mindset. That's what's making you weak. So stop right now. Find out what's good for you and use your instincts to back your logic. Logify your only good actions and stop giving logic. Stop trying to justify your bad actions because that's what's holding you back. Every decision you make in your life should be made by your instincts, and you should justify your instincts with your logic. That is, consult your instincts with your logic. That's how a masculine man takes decisions. Every action that he takes has to be both backed by his instincts and logic. That's why a masculine man is the best decision maker and a good problem solver. Part 10, War Till the Last Breath. And this part is basically the most important part and the most interesting part of this playlist. You, as a masculine man, a young man, need to understand we, hard men, tough men, fight till the last breath. We give it our all and we do not let go until death is right in our face. Death is the only thing that makes us stop. Once we find our purpose and we start taking responsibility, putting all of our energy in our purpose, We fight till our last breath. Do you know why that is? Because giving up is not an option. Giving up is not an option because giving up is the only thing that weak men do. Weak men are the reason why you and I are in such dire conditions, why we are surrounded by infidelity. We're surrounded by men who are weak, with weak mindsets. We're surrounded by women who have to work for money because their men aren't good providers. You know why that is? That is because of weak men. The generation of men before us and the generation before that, wars and people delving into their pleasures is what caused us to have weak mindsets. But we as hard men have to decide to follow our purpose, follow our responsibility, and to fight till the last breath. That is why being masculine makes you the best possible version of yourself. Stop being a pussy. Get onto the war mindset. We fight to the last breath. That's what the Spartans did. That's what the Romans did. And we, as the masculine men of 2025, the young men of 2025, will do that as well. Let's do that together. Part 11 is being proud of your masculinity. Now, you've discovered that you are masculine. You know that you have to be a responsible man. You know how to challenge your masculine aggression. You know how to follow your instincts, take decisions by your instincts, and trust your masculine energy. You have your purpose in your life, and after some time, you'll be in a polar relationship. But the most important thing for you to do now is to be proud of your masculinity. Because if you want to be a masculine man and you want to be a happy masculine man, you need to first accept yourself and you need to be ready to challenge people for your masculinity. What that means is once you realize that you are masculine, if someone challenges you on the fact that you are masculine, you fucking fight them. You fucking fight for your opinions because you are masculine. And nobody can stop you from being masculine because this is not a toxic trait. Masculinity is not toxic. Toxic masculinity is something very different. It's norms that make every man masculine and every woman feminine. That is not true. Masculinity is not gender specific. It is the ability of a person to realize that he is masculine or she is masculine and for and follow that energy flow into the being of being a masculine, if that makes sense to you. Masculinity is gender irrelevant. Once you realize you are masculine, start fighting for it. Express yourself, express your masculinity rather than avoiding it. Because even though this video is made for a young man, if you're anyone watching this video and you realize that you are masculine, fight for it because you have the right to. That's why you need to preserve your masculinity. You know why masculinity is something that's not very common today? It's because our ancestors had it, and the mindset we had is anything that's primate, anything that is, not advanced is not good because evolutionarily that is true. Bad characteristics, old characteristics are always thrown away, but there are some things that stay. Electricity stayed, wheels stayed, calculators, math, wisdom, philosophy, these things stay because they are important for us. And just like that, masculinity is something that's been passed on from generations, from our ancestors, and we need to fulfill them. We need to be proud of our masculinity. That's what's going to make us different. That's what you need to do right now. Accept your masculinity if you know you are masculine and start to be proud of it. Part 12 is happiness as a man. And if you want to know what true happiness is as a man, I want you to think of a person you must have heard of, David fucking Goggins. David Goggins is the man who is the most inspirational motivator on the internet. You know why that is? Because he fucking accepts himself. He knows that he needs to put in the fucking work, who he needs to become to be internally happy. His book, Can't Hurt Me, changed my perception of what happiness is. I thought happiness is achieving things in life, doing things that, getting things, being materialistic. That's what made me happy. But after I read that book, after I read the introduction to that book, my perception of happiness changed. Let me change your perception. Happiness as a young masculine man is not achieved by materialistic things, it's achieved by internal validation. Validation basically means you fulfilling expectations. That is what validation means. There are two types of validations: external validation and internal validation. External validation is basically you depending on your happiness for other people's opinions and expectations. You giving a fuck about what they think about you and what their opinion is on who you are. Whereas internal validation is your validation, is basically you achieving and only chasing your internal expectations, what challenges you set for yourself, what pain you are willing to endure to become the best possible version of yourself. That's what internal validation is. You must have seen these people in social circles, people who are unaffected by what other people say about them to their face and behind their back. You know why that is? You know why they're so confident? Because they don't give a fuck about what other people think. If I thought what you would think about my channel right now, you wouldn't be watching this video and I wouldn't be able to give you all of this video, all of this wisdom. You know why that is? That's because I don't care about what you think about me. If you call me fat, I would be unaffected. The only thing I would take away from that is I need to put in the work more. But realize being happy as a masculine man is achieved by chasing your own expectations. And once you start to realize that only your opinions and expectations matter, that's where your life will completely do a 180 and you will get the best possible results. I want that for you. Let's get more happy as masculine man. Start accepting yourself more. Start living up to only your expectations and have your own goals. Make your own rules and rule the entire world by being masculine. Part 13 is how to stay away from toxic people. Let's cover what we've done right now. We've accepted that you're masculine. We found out that you're masculine, accepted that you're masculine. I've told you what you need to do, what you need to become to be masculine. Now we're going to talk about how to stay away from toxic people. In the masculine brotherhood part 4, we talked about the three kinds of people: average people, crabs, and the top 1%. Do you think the top 1% will be sad or they will be jealous or anxious when you grow? Of course not. They want you to grow like I do. I want you to grow and become the best possible version of yourself. I'm not selling you anything here. I just want to see you grow. But there are the crabs, the people who snip at your legs when you crawl out of the bucket. These are the toxic people. These people thrive on seeing you be the same level as they are. These people are drug addicts, which bring you on drugs. These are the people who don't want you to go out and put in the work, start your own business, get your physique. They want, if they are fat, they want you to stay fat. And that is why you must avoid toxic people at all costs. Let's talk about how to identify toxic people. Well, toxic people are very, very hard to come by. Well, toxic people are very, very hard to identify because they've gotten very good at camouflaging themselves in normal conditions, because they'll talk to you like they care for you, but in reality, they're just feeding you in. They're feeding in your insecurities, thriving on seeing you be in pain, because that's how toxic people are. They see you, they take a look at you, and they're like, I need to see him in pain. And I do not want that for you. They intentionally want you to fail. They can't let you go up than them. They don't want you to succeed more than they are succeeding because it gives them pain and misery to see you grow. That's why toxic people are the worst. In my actionable guide, I'm going to tell you everything you need to do from the basics to avoid toxic people and what to do when you can't avoid them. If you can't wait for the actionable guide, go and watch my full video on how to deal with toxic people. I've given you some actionable steps there that will help you. Part 14, my favorite part of this playlist till now, is the growth mindset. The mindset is something that changed my complete life. Let me just tell you my story. I was a 13-year-old who was fat as fuck. I had really poor mental health. I had to study because my parents wanted me to have good grades. Again, I was living off their expectations and their validations. I had no attraction for women. I had only toxic friends. What do you think I felt like every day? I felt like fucking shit. And that all started to change when I discovered growth mindset. I watched two or three videos. One video was by Hamza, one video was by Dr. Andrew Huberman. And both of these videos fucking changed my life. They made me realize that I can actually change who I am. Like if I think I am fat, I can change that in a very short period. You know why that is? Because I have the growth mindset now. You need to realize that everything in your life is not controlled by genetics or fate. There is no fate. The only thing that controls your life is the actions that you take. And once you realize that positive actions bring you positive outcomes, negative actions bring you negative outcomes. And you need to start taking positive mindsets, positive actions, because positive actions will give you growth. We want growth, hence the growth mindset. The growth mindset is something that is completely very simple, very easy to apply to your life, yet yet very effective. Let's grow together. Come on the growth mindset and learn about it more. Research about it and watch my complete video on it. Part 15, the most important part, self improvement. Self improvement is the lifestyle that I want you to adopt. I will make a full playlist on this, on self improvement, because it is the only thing that can actually change a young man's life. Self improvement is the ability of a person to improve themselves without external conditions. For you right now, I am the external condition. If you're watching this video and thinking, yeah, I need to take action, I am the external factor causing your own improvement. But you have to get into a mindset, a lifestyle where your improvement is caused by you and you only. There are no external factors involved. You can get knowledge from other people, but you must take the actions required. That's what self improvement is. Self improvement is this lifestyle where you realize that, yeah, you need to change, you need to grow, and you accept that. You take pride in that, and you actually start to improve yourself. You do that through very small actions like meditation, reading, journaling, and having good conversations with people, being a more social person. There are so many things you can improve in your life. You isolate one thing and you give it your all in that particular sector in your life, and you grow as much as you fucking can. My video on self improvement was very hard to make because I had to go through my own personal journey, everything that I did, and it will help you a lot. And if you don't want to watch that video, wait for the actionable guide. That guide will contain everything you need to start self improvement from the scratch. Yes, let's get on self improvement. Part 16 is the flow state, and the flow state is basically the peak human experience. What do I mean by that? What I mean is there are different experiences that men have, and these experiences range from being very miserable, like a very hard enduring workout, to being very pleasurable, ideally sex. So, what is a flow state? Well, a flow state is an experience that you can have from the worst to the best possible experience. Flow is basically an experience that you as a young man will go through where you are completely present. There are no thoughts in your mind that make you distracted, and hence you are present 100% in the moment. That causes you to be the most masculine that you can be, hence making you the ideal masculine man. Then what is the difference between a normal experience and a flow state? Well, the difference comes down to mindfulness and mindlessness. Mindlessness is where you have different thoughts in your mind while you are doing something else. Daydreaming, sitting in class while thinking about a girl you like. That's what mindlessness is. Mindfulness, on the other hand, is you sitting there completely focused, grasping everything that the teacher is teaching you. That's what mindfulness is. Hence, a flow state is a state where you are completely mindful, present in the moment, and working as much as you can. Whereas mindlessness is the normal experiences that you usually have. What are the applications of the flow state? Well, you can apply the flow state to pretty much everywhere. If I had different thoughts in my mind right now while I'm teaching you what the flow state is, you would obviously not get what I'm trying to say. But a flow state helps me communicate more, hence, it makes you a good communicator. It makes you the best worker possible. It 10x's your amount of work produced. I do not want you to be a worker, but if you are following your purpose, you have to do some kind of work. It will make your results be 10 times more with the same amount of effort you put in because your use of time is good. Then you have flow state in the gym where you basically go to the gym and you're completely focused. You're not listening to music, you're not talking to people, you're not joking around. You are there 100% Spartan mentality, focused on the workout. That's where the flow state helps you. Of course, there's other applications of flow like driving and basic human things, but these are the major ones. That's why a flow state is the peak human experience, and you as a young man needs to get into a flow state as soon as possible. Wait for my actionable guide for how to get into a flow state or watch the full flow state video. Part 17 is toxic masculinity. What is toxic masculinity? Basically, there's a difference between toxic masculinity and healthy masculinity. Healthy masculinity is masculinity where any person who believes that they have masculinity inside of them, masculine energy flowing inside of them, has the right to express themselves and they live as masculine people. Whereas toxic masculinity is this movement that started in the 1970s with the equality movements, equality for men and women, equality for different races. Whereas this movement basically stated that not all men are masculine and not all women are feminine. I support that 100%. Every person, man, woman, or child, has the right to identify themselves as man or woman, masculine or feminine, or deeper energy, whatever you want. I want you to understand if you're masculine, stop thinking that toxic masculinity is bad because masculinity in itself is a very healthy thing. We've been talking about masculinity for more than 45 minutes now. Do you think masculinity is something that won't help you grow? Of course it will. But thinking that masculinity is only limited to men, or it's only limited to a certain group of people, a certain race, that is toxic. That's what toxic masculinity is. But the thing is, I agree that toxic masculinity is bad. But the feminist movement got to a point where equality had been reached. Men and women could be whoever they wanted to be, but it kept going. They made women more masculine than men, and that hurt men. That makes us weak. That's why men still aren't suitable for being masculine, because the feminist nature, our feminist teachers, they teach us to not be more masculine, to shut up and listen and follow to the rules. That's not what masculine men do. You shouldn't do that. Hence, toxic masculinity is bad for you. You need to preserve your masculinity, be proud of your masculinity, and know that you have the right of being masculine. Also, if you think that you have the right to impose masculinity on someone else, I will genuinely not let you be masculine anymore, because masculinity is something that every person achieves by themselves. Masculinity is every person's own journey. You can't force masculinity on someone else. I know for a fact that you are watching till this far because you realized in the first part of this video that you are masculine. If you didn't, you can't be here. That's just not possible. So you can't impose masculinity on someone. That's toxic masculinity. Let people find masculinity on their own. You just focus on your journey. That's what matters right now. Part 18, gym. The most important, the awaited part of this playlist. Basically, gym is the place you go to and build your physique. It's realizing that you can go to a place, lift weights, do hypertrophy, and build a dominant physique. First of all, there are three types of physique that a young man can build: the athletic physique, the aesthetic physique, and the dominant physique, whereas that is the bulky physique. The athletic physique, the build is basically you have a rectangle body, you have the minimum amount of fat on your body, and you have less amount of muscle as compared to the other physiques, but it is very healthy and keeps you fit. You can easily achieve this by doing lots of cardio and all, but I will put everything you need to do to achieve every three of these physiques individually in the actionable guide. Then there's the aesthetic physique. The aesthetic physique is basically a physique where you have a balance between body fat percentage and the amount of muscle you have on your body. The perfect way to describe this is the TikTok boy physique. You don't have the maximum amount of muscle on your body. It's just toned muscle. It's a decent amount of muscle, but it's toned. So it makes you look good, but again, doesn't make you look as dominant as possible. As masculine people, we are dominant. We dominate every place we are. We are the best people in the room, and hence we have the dominant physique, which is having the maximum amount of muscle on our body naturally. And to do that, you need to bulk up. And let me tell you this very clearly: every masculine man, a person who wants to be more dominant, needs to have a dominant physique, that is, having the maximum amount of muscle on their body. If you don't believe that, you can have aesthetic builds. If you don't believe that you can have the aesthetic build, you can have the athletic build. But I am telling you, because I am on the path of building a dominant physique, of having the maximum amount of muscle on my body. That's what my priority is in building my body. And I think you should be on the journey with me. So, what makes a dominant physique? Basically, a dominant physique is characterized by four big muscles, the big four. The first one, the most important one, is the big shoulders, because shoulders make you look bigger. They give you that V taper physique where your shoulders are broader than your waist, and that is why you need to build your shoulders first. Bigger the shoulders, the more you will look pleasing, because humans are naturally more attracted. Women are naturally more attracted to men with bigger shoulders. After shoulders, we have arms. And I don't need to explain this to you why arms is the most important muscle for men, because it makes your arms pop in t-shirts and shirts. That is why you need to build bigger arms. Third muscle is chest, because your chest is the muscle that makes you look good in vests and sandals. And of course, when you're working out in the summer or when you are at the beach, you need to have a good chest. You can't have man boobs; they make you look weird. I had insecurities about them. So should you. They are not something that's healthy for you, and you need to get rid of them. Build a very good chest. The last, fourth big muscle is the back. The back is the muscle that makes you look good from the behind, and of course, it's one of the most important muscles in the back. It's one of the most important muscles in the body, and hence you need to train it. I'm going to talk about training, diet, supplements, everything you need to know about building a dominant physique from scratch in the actionable guide. Until then, you can go on to channels like Jeff Nippard, RP, Renaissance Periodization, or Hussein Farhat, any three of these, and they can give you good information. But I want you to do your own research, not just trust these influencers. Try these things out as a beginner and start your journey rather than fixating on the results. Part 19, reading. Reading is one of the most important habits that any young man can do. I basically started self improvement through reading because reading non fiction, self help books like these helped me become the better person that I needed to be. That is why reading is very important for you. Reading is one habit that will make you more knowledgeable, more intellectual, and make you more literate. A person who's masculine is not that respected when he's illiterate compared to when he is literate. A masculine person, good with words, eloquent like Winston Churchill, is a person who is respected the most. And reading books is the thing that's going to help you get there. There are a lot of books that you can read, but I isolated the first 25 books that every young man, a beginner on self improvement, should read. I made a video on this and you can just watch it side by side. Part 20 is meditation. And meditation is basically this habit where you focus on mindfulness. You get present in the moment and you focus on being the best possible version of yourself in the moment without any thoughts in your mind. It makes you more focused, more clear headed, and makes you more, being able to achieve more in less time. That is why meditation is important for you. It makes you calm and serene, and a mature meditator always chases calmness rather than chasing no thoughts. There is this 4 step cycle that every meditation cycle should follow, and let me explain that to you very clearly. Basically, what happens is you sit down, you close your eyes, and you start to focus on your breath. And step one is focusing on your breath. After you focus on your breath, step two is getting distracted. Because I want you to do this right now. Close your eyes with me and just start breathing. Now, I know for a fact that either you weren't meditating and you were looking at me meditating, or you had thoughts in your mind, you got distracted. And that is not a bad thing. Step two is actually getting distracted. But the step that follows next is step three, getting back to your breath. It is realizing that you are distracted, and after you do realize, like, oh fuck, I just got distracted, I need to focus on my breath again. Step four is going back to your breath. That is the cycle you repeat again and again. So I'll give you a screenshot. I'll give you a picture that you can screenshot very easily. Step one, focus on your breath. Step two, get distracted. Step three, realize that you were distracted. And step four is going back to your breath. That's what a basic repetition of meditation looks like. The more repetitions you do in meditation, the more clear-headed, focused, and calm you will become, and it will help you achieve the flow state better. Also, meditation is a habit that I want you to never leave in your life. I started meditation in September 2024 consistently, and I haven't missed one single day. I have a streak of 436 days on Insight Timer, and that is the most important, significant thing that helped me become a better person. That's why meditation is so important. Part 21 is journaling, and journaling is the most masculine habit that no one does. It is a habit that differentiates you, a normal masculine person, into the top 1%, the highest quality, highest value, no entry masculine people who are literate. This is a habit which makes you the most clear headed and declutters your mind in a way that is very important. Where what is journaling? Journaling is basically a practice that you as a man do where you sit down with a pen on a paper and you write down what your thoughts are. There are 4 journaling practices you need to know about. First is gratitude journaling. Gratitude journaling is a practice where you sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and you write down what you're grateful for. And this makes you more happy. This makes you appreciate the things you have in life rather than chasing the things that you want. Because we always are chasing the next big thing in our life, but we never stop and appreciate the things that we already have. That is why gratitude journaling is a practice that makes you very, very happy. Then there is deep journaling. And deep journaling is basically a habit where you sit down and you ask yourself deep questions. These deep questions could be questions like, what is your purpose in your life? Or these could be questions like, what are the qualities of the woman that I want to marry? And questions like deep questions help you know yourself better. They get you to understand what you want out of life, and they also help you to solve personal issues like issues with insecurities or anger issues. That's why deep journaling is a practice that every man should do. Then there is introspective journaling. Introspective journaling is basically a practice of journaling similar to diary entries, but a masculine take on it, where you sit down with a pen and piece of paper and you write down everything that's going on in your mind, because you don't do it because you're doing it for the reader. You're doing it to declutter your mind. You must have had these periods in your life where you're doing something, but in the back of your mind, you're constantly thinking about something. It could be a crush on a girl, it could be your parents abusing you, it could be something serious, it could be something minor, but you always had that thought in your mind. And until and unless you talk about it to someone, or you open up about it to someone, that thought never really goes away because you haven't processed it. But once you do introspective journaling, where you write down everything you're thinking, not for the reader, not for the person who's reading the journal, but for yourself, to help you process this thing, that's how you grow more. That's how you process the entire thing, have your own conclusions. And after that, your brain is going to be so relieved. Habit 4, the practice 4 of journaling is habit tracking. Basically, this is the practice of journaling. You're going to sit down with a piece of paper and a pen, and you're going to write down things that you are doing every day on repeat. Let's just say that you follow this morning routine. You wake up to the sound of alarm or your mom waking you up, and you start scrolling. You check for messages on your social media and all. You go to the washroom, then you start scrolling there. Then you get out of the washroom, get dressed for work, college, or school. That's basically your morning routine. You keep following that every day, and in habit tracking, you track your morning routine every day. Let's just start with your morning routine. And once you realize that you're doing some things that are good for you, some things that are bad, and some things that are neutral, you start to grade them. You write all of these habits down and you grade them. Habits like journaling, meditating, and reading, talking to other people, having good conversations, these things are good for you and they will help you increase yourself, improve yourself. That's why you give them a plus. Then there are habits that are negative for you: porn, fapping, and watching reels on Instagram or scrolling YouTube shorts. These things are bad for you. Playing video games, junk food, drugs, these things are bad for you, so you give them a negative. Then there are things that you need to do, but they don't have that much of an effect. These things could be things like brushing your teeth or washing your face, but you need to do them. They don't have that big of an effect, but they're still there. You give them a neutral, an equal to. And once you realize that the equals to aren't going anywhere, you have to remove the negative and you have to amplify the positive ones. That's where real growth is. And the last practice, a fifth one, is research. Remember in school and colleges, we had to write papers and essays and we had to make projects and all on things that we didn't want to do. But I am telling you that once you start doing research for yourself, getting more knowledge and tracking that knowledge, keeping a track of it and storing it in journals and in different notes, that's going to make you more knowledgeable and a better literate man. Research is basically you sitting down with a specific journal for one part of your life. It could be gym, it could be your communication, it could be anything. And you start researching, you get more knowledge about it, you keep a track of that journal, you keep adding knowledge to it, and you keep learning. You become a lifelong student. That's why journaling helps you. If you still aren't if you still aren't convinced that journaling will help you, here are three benefits, instant benefits you will get from 1 week of journaling. From 1 week of gratitude journaling, you will see a boost of happiness in your life. And you will notice that you are naturally more grateful for things that you weren't grateful for before. After 1 week of habit tracking, you will know exactly what things you need to remove from your life and what good things you need in your life. And after 1 week of deep journaling, you will almost literally become a new person because you will get to know yourself more. You will get your own opinions straight, and then you can fight for them. That's why journaling will help you. Part 22 is delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is basically this concept where we differentiate actions and what results they cause. Gratification is basically things that give us pleasure. And here is the example I need you to understand: the marshmallow experiment. A bunch of 5-year-olds are taken into a room, and in that room, they're given one marshmallow. A marshmallow is placed between a table, like you and me right now. A marshmallow is placed, and they're asked, you can either have this marshmallow right now, or you can wait for 15 minutes, and then you can have another marshmallow. That means you have two marshmallows. 60% of all those children took the first marshmallow. They had no self control. Now, you don't expect 5-year-olds to have, self control, but these people, the people who actually took the first marshmallow, they were tracked. Out of that 60%, 80% of these people had either serious mental health issues, anger issues, or they were criminals or drug addicts. That means if you have no self control and you are only chasing instant gratification, pleasure right now, that will cause you to actually have pain later. Pleasure right now will give you pain later. Whereas we talk about delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is this thing where you endure pain right now, the things that are hard, that give you pain right now, you endure them and you wait for the pleasure. and the pleasure comes later. If you and me start going to the gym, if you're a beginner and you start going to the gym, your first workout will be very shit. It will be very hard for you. You can't lift the weights. You'll be insecure as fuck. People will be staring at you because you're a beginner, and you will be so sore after it. You don't want to go back. That means you have pain right now. But if you and me start working out and we do 1000 workouts, do you think the pain is going to be similar, or will you see the pleasure, the confidence you get after getting such a good physique? That means pleasure comes after the pain, after enduring the hard things right now, after meditating for a long time, after journaling for a long time, over a period of time. That's where pleasure comes. But that pleasure isn't followed by pain. That is pure pleasure, and I want that pleasure for you. So understand, delayed gratification is what gives you a sustainable pleasure. It's what's going to give you a good amount of pleasure without the fear of having pain later. How do you actually get delayed gratification? I'm going to talk about that in the actionable guide. Part 23 is ego is the enemy, and this one is a dark one, so let me get serious about this. You, if you're a young man watching this, don't deserve a fucking ego. You are not all that. You have to get out of your head and realize that you have been telling yourself stories about yourself. You are not all that. You don't have a good physique. You don't have a good work or business, and then you haven't fulfilled your life purpose. You haven't retired your parents. You don't actually have a good polar relationship. You're not all that. If you have all of these things, you can still be better. Because in life, you don't get to have an ego. You're not better than any other human because God made us all of us equal. Okay, you're an atheist. I don't give a fuck. You still don't get to have an ego because you're a stupid little boy who still hasn't realized that a man actually focuses on getting better, and when he can't get any better, he helps others improve. That is why ego is the enemy. You don't get to have a fucking ego. Nobody does. I don't have an ego. That is why I have the humility to understand my insecurities and improve them rather than hiding them in my ego. Stop having this ego. Stop thinking you're better than other people and start putting in the fucking work. If you still don't believe me, here are two actionable things I was going to say in the actionable guide. First, read the fucking book. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. It will completely change your entire mindset on ego and help you lose that fucking ego. And if you want a summary, I've made a summary by the name of Ego is the Enemy on my channel. You can watch that as well. I recommend the book first. Ego is the fucking enemy. You don't get an ego. Understand that, and it will make you grow 10,000 times more than you would if you had an ego. Part 24, change your habits. And what I mean by changing your habits is basically once you start doing journaling and once you start doing habit tracking, you've identified that you have some habits that are good for you, some habits that are bad for you, and some habits that are just there. And you need to understand that you need to remove the bad habits and you need to keep and amplify the good habits. So let's talk about what habits are. Habits are basically actions or things that you repeat in your day to day life. And habits are something that you get pleasure from. It doesn't matter if they're good or bad, you get pleasure from them. Because if they are consistently in your life, they give you some form of pleasure. And good habits are habits that give you pleasure which is sustainable, pleasure which is good for you, like health benefits, good mental health, and a good physique, a good relationship. Whereas bad habits give you pleasure which is bad for you, pleasure followed by pain, like bad mental health, ruined physiques, a divorce in your future relationships. That's what bad habits are. So let's differentiate five beginner bad habits and five beginner good habits. Let's talk about the bad habits first. The first habit is porn. You need to stop watching porn. That is just a decision that you need to take right now. And I don't want that for you. Nobody should watch porn, and that is it. Habit two is junk food. Junk food is literally poison. There is nothing good you get from eating a good pizza or a burger. I'm not saying I don't. Once in a while, it's okay to have junk food as a treat, as giving yourself a reward for doing such good things while keeping your diet consistent. But having junk food daily will kill you early. It will reduce decades from your lifespan and your health span. Your children will literally not get to see you get old, and you won't see your child's marriage because you had junk food. That's why stop eating junk food. Habit three is drugs. Drugs, soft drugs like alcohol or cigarettes, but hard drugs like cocaine, meth, and fentanyl. These drugs will kill you. Literally, they are so addictive. Doesn't matter what drug it is. Once you get into the addiction, it will ruin your life. Your parents will be so sad and ashamed and disappointed in you. Your wife will leave you. Your children won't want you as your dad, as their dad, because you are on drugs. So drugs is not cool. Leave drugs and become the best version of yourself. Get clean right now. Habit 4 is wasting your time. And wasting your time is basically a habit where you just sit there idly wasting time when you could use that time for something fruitful. Sitting in parks with your friend talking, having a good conversation which actually helps you be more productive and makes you bond with these people is good. Sitting in that same park with people who are toxic, which hurt you and you hurt them, that is not good. That is wasting time. You could literally be researching and improving yourself, but you spend time lying in your bed and scrolling on Instagram. That is the difference between spending good time and spending wasted time. Stop wasting time. And related to the fourth habit, the fifth habit is scrolling on social media. Social media is poison. It's what's giving you mindlessness, giving you anxieties, making you anxious. I'm going to make a full, complete guide on what social media does to you. But right now, I want you to quit social media, delete all of your accounts, just forget the fucking passwords, remove the apps from your phone, and start living a better life. And on the other hand, there are the five good habits. These habits are the habits of self improvement and they give you pleasure that is sustainable later, pleasure that is actually good for you. So, what are these habits? Reading, journaling, meditation, going to the gym, and researching. I've talked about all of these and I have made separate videos for each topic different. So, you can watch either those, or if you have a clear, good understanding of them from this guide, you don't need to do that. That is why you need to understand that these good habits will help you become a better person, whereas the bad habits will make you a worse person. So change your habits, grow for the better, and become the best possible version of yourself. Part 25 is dark times are coming. This is basically a warning for every young man out there. This is the analogy where hard men create good times create weak men create bad times, and bad times create hard men. Do you think we are the men who are hard? We are the men who will bring around good times? Or are we the weak men? Are we the weakest generation to ever have existed? The softest generation who will bring hard times? Look around yourself. Genuinely, we are the weakest. And we need to understand that if we don't change for the better, we don't have purposes in our life and improve humanity itself, dark times are coming. I need you to understand this. Your actions and your purpose right now is going to change how your future children will live. That has to touch you. That has to have some meaning in your life. That is why you need to understand. Improve yourself. Find your purpose. Make sure your kids are proud of their father. That is all I want to talk to you about. That is the end of the part 25 and the end of this theoretical video. This video is going to be followed by an actionable guide, a guide where you need to know nothing. You just need to listen to me talk. You need to follow the actionable steps, and you will achieve everything we talked about today. That is all. If you liked what you learned today, would like to learn more, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.